Hello there, everybody, and welcome to Harrah's Hoosier Park as we continue our Road to the Derby Challenge. And I am Michael Chamberlain along with Jacob Reinheimer as the challenge continues. Jacob, we really were challenged last week because Fierceness didn't really respond very well off the layoff. Did finish third, but ended up running well behind Hades, who won the race at Gulfstream.
Yeah, it's interesting. Hades was one that I looked at. He was undefeated going into that race in the Holy Bull last week. Weren't quite sure if he was going to be able to go the distance. With that said, I'm not sure if it was more about Hades or were you more concerned about Fierceness and just kind of maybe a little bit short off the layoff?
Yeah, I think the layoff is that's a forgivable effort. I think coming back to the next race, which in that sequence is the Fountain of Youth. But the thing with the Fountain of Youth now, don't forget, Dornoch is pointing toward that race too, and Dornoch has now kind of assumed the top rung on the ladder on a lot of these Derby lists. So it's going to be interesting to see how Fierceness responds now having a real challenger in there in Dornoch. The Fountain of Youth could set up to be a very good race.
Absolutely, and these Florida races always so interesting. With that said, as we go to week 2 of 9 of Road to the Derby, we make a trip just a little bit north of Gulfstream Park up to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay Downs, of course, with the Sam F. Davis Stakes, which is going to be the new Road to the Derby race here, the second of 9, as I said. And with that said, we got a really competitive field of 12 here, getting ready to go postward in the Sam F. Davis.
Right, grade 3 with a purse of $250,000, going a mile and a 16th as we take a look at this field of 12. None of the names really that have jumped out yet in some of these races that we've been following and talking about, but a very solid field nonetheless. You've got the winner of the Grade 3 Iroquois in West Saratoga, who is 8-1 in this field with Jesus Castanon. The morning line favorite is the 9, just to the inside there. Change of Command. Tyler Gaffalione riding for Shug McGaughey, winner of 2 in a row at Gulfstream prior to shipping up to Tampa Bay for this effort. Second choice in here at 7-2 is the 6-horse Agate Road, who was the winner of the Grade 2 Pilgrim on the turf at Aqueduct in October. An interesting thing about this horse, all 5 races this horse has been entered in have been on the turf. Now, one was taken off the turf at Saratoga last August, but did finish 5th in the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf for trainer Todd Pletcher, who, if I'm not, I think I saw this. I think this is his attempt to win this race for an 8th time.
Yeah, he's dominated this race. He's won it 7 times, a record, and in the stakes race, I think he won it last year as well. So this is a race that Todd Pletcher's dominated. And he also throws in number 2, Tireless. I know he's a little bit more of a price on the morning line, but with that said, always have to keep an eye on Todd Pletcher in this race.
And the third choice in here is the 7, Copper Tax, who is 5-1 for trainer Gary Capuano. Had a very nice 5-race win streak that was snapped in the Grade 2 Remsen, finishing behind the aforementioned Dornoch, the Grade 2 Remsen on December 2nd at Aqueduct over a sloppy track. So, it's a very wide open field of 12. I think there are a lot of different ways you can go as we now take a look at our selections for this race. And, I ended up on the favorite Change of Command for a few reasons here. They're adding blinkers for this try. The horse is Buy Into Mischief out of a Medaglia d'Oro mare. Has won the last 2, broke the maiden at 7 furlongs at Gulfstream, and then also went a mile and a 16th in winning the 2024 debut at Gulfstream. And Shug McGaughey so far during this Tampa Bay meet is 7 for 14. He's hitting at 50%, and that's really a very strong number. Now, this will be the first time this horse will be at Tampa Bay Downs, and given the history of Tampa Bay with some of these other horses, it is a track they kind of have to get used to, so that is one little I want to say red flag, but I still think the 9 is head and shoulders the best in here. Again, Tyler Gaffalione riding for Shug McGaughey.
Yeah, and one thing to keep an eye on there, Tyler Gaffalione picks up the mount here after Jose Ortiz opts to go to the Todd Pletcher trainee in Agate Road, rather. With that said, I did opt to go to Copper Tax. This is a horse we both liked. I think you put him second. I put him on top here. As I mentioned, had that 5-race win streak leading up to the Remsen. With that said, I think you can kind of draw a line through the Remsen. We've seen a couple horses. One that I found interesting, Domestic Product, rather, raced in that Remsen Stakes. Laid kind of an egg in that race. With that said, bounced back really nicely with the second-place effort last week in the Holy Bull Stakes. I was really impressed by that. This horse was really sharp prior to the Remsen. That was a little bit of a step up. I don't think this field's quite as tough, though, as what the Holy Bull was last week. So I really like Copper Tax. I think he'll find some form again. He's beat another horse that raced in the likes of that Holy Bull Stakes and inveigled earlier on. He, of course, finished fourth in that Holy Bull last week as well. So I think there's a lot to like about Copper Tax. Gets the starting spot right in the middle of the field here. He's a horse that shows early speed when he needs it. I have to go with Copper Tax of 5-1 on the morning line.
Now, we do agree on the top two in here, and then we kind of go for some prices underneath, which I think is interesting because we both have a 10-1 shot in the third spot, but different 10-1 shots. I'm on the 5 No More Time by Not This Time out of a Speightstown mare. And speaking of Not This Time, Goodnight Olive, back-to-back Breeders' Cup victor the last 2 years, she has been retired and will be bred to Not This Time. So that's a horse that certainly, when the time comes, is going to be one to keep an eye on because that's some very solid breeding right there. But this horse, No More Time, Paco Lopez has the ride for trainer Jose D'Angelo, was a winner at Gulfstream back in October and then took time off, came back in the Mucho Macho Man and finished fifth. And the thing about the Mucho Macho Man, we talked about that last week as being a key race for the Holy Bull with 4 of the horses in there. And this one was the horse that finished fifth in that race. So first time going around 2 turns, but I think the 5 No More Time is a price horse to like.
Yeah, he's a horse I was going to keep an eye on going into the Holy Bull last week. He took a lot of money in that Mucho Macho Man, went off at 2-1, was a little ranked from the start, made a big move on the far turn, and just kind of leveled out a little bit. One to keep an eye on there. They opt to go to the Sam F. Davis Stakes, which I think is a little bit softer spot than the Holy Bull. With that said, as you mentioned, I opted to go with number 4, Crazy Mason, at 10-1 for my third selection here. Went around 2 turns, got a win here, as you mentioned, at Tampa Bay Downs, which I think is a positive here for the likes of Crazy Mason. Beat a horse that's also going to race in this race in Fulminio, who starts from the 11th hole here in that last outing against the condition company. So I think there's one to keep an eye on here. He was second, a hard-charging second to the likes of Patriot Spirit, who's going to take some money here at 10-1 on the morning line as well. So I think he's a horse kind of rounding into form. He draws towards the inside. He likes to kind of just stalk from off the pace a little bit. I think there's going to be some pace to run at in here. I like Crazy Mason at 10-1.
And on the 4th pick, I really thought I was going to slide one by you here because I threw this horse in at 15-1, and I really thought I was going to get one that because I think this horse can win. I'm not a big fan of the outside post going a mile and a 16th in this situation, but number 12, Elysian Meadows for trainer Bill Mott. Junior Alvarado is the jockey by City of Light out of a Warfront mare. 2 races at Aqueduct, both at 6.5 and 6 furlongs, so sprinting distances, stretching out for the first time. If this horse had drawn a little more inside, I might have had this horse bumped up a couple of spots. But 2 for 2 up in New York, now comes down to Florida to get on the Derby trail for a trainer that, surprisingly enough, only has 1 Derby win, and that came as a result of a disqualification because he was the trainer of Country House, who was elevated in 2019 after the disqualification of Maximum Security. So I do like the 12 Elysian Meadows, 15-1 on the morning line here. And like I said, I thought I was going to sneak a price by you, but you're too sharp for that one, I guess.
Yeah, you hit all the notes of why I liked him, and I really like trainer Bill Mott opting to throw him up and stretch him out here off those 2 starts on the on the 6 furlongs, rather. So I definitely wanted to keep an eye on that one. He couldn't have looked any better in those 2 starts in the 6 furlongs. And I like the pedigree. He's son of City of Light, same sire of Fierceness as well, the 2-year-old champion from a year ago. So I like that connection there. So I don't think the stretch and distance is really going to be a factor for him. I think he should be able to handle it okay. Like you said, it is starting from the 12th hole, first start at Tampa Bay Downs. That is the concern here. But I think he can certainly get a piece.
I think that this is a very competitive spot. And while we do have the same top 2, just a little bit flipped order there, I think there's a lot of different ways you could go in this race. Horse we haven't even mentioned, Patriot Spirit, is 6-1 by Constitution, was the winner of the inaugural at Tampa Bay on December 2nd, which is kind of one of the lead-ins to this race for those horses that are at Tampa Bay to begin with. Did win at Colonial back in August, 6-1 on the morning line, and Sammy Camacho is one of the top jockeys down there at Tampa, so that one's one to keep an eye on too. But, we have it again. You had it 7-9, 4-12, 9-7, 5-12 for me in the Grade 3 Sam F. Davis, the second race on the Road to the Derby Challenge here at Harrah's Hoosier Park. For Jacob Reitheimer, I'm Michael Chamberlain, wishing the best of luck to you all.